Nathan Judah, I'm here with Wolves reporter. It is Mr. Liam Keane for the second time in a week, Liam. We're seeing a 1-0 victory. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers 1 in the FA Cup, Brighton Hove Albion 0, and Wolves are sneakily into the FA Cup quarter final. Wasn't a classic? No. Wasn't a classic, baby. And we'll start to get a little bit excited in a little bit during this video in the podcast Late Night Love later on tonight. But end of the day, most important thing is 2 clean sheets, and they have got the job done.
They have. Let's start with the goal.
Let's start with the goal.
I think it was about minute 19. I think something around that.
Someone wasn't at their seat yet.
you definitely weren't quite there yet. I know, shock. And look, it's a really nice turn from Bellegarde. Bellegarde's been out for form.
Yeah.
Gary O'Neill has said publicly, I need a bit more from him. To be honest, he wasn't particularly informed tonight, aside from this opportunity in the first minute or so. But it's a lovely turn on halfway. Great. He was okay, but he wasn't outstanding. But anyway, a dart into the box or towards the box, down the left-hand side, lovely cross. Still doesn't deal with it. Lamina reacts and gets a little bit of luck and gets the finish. Wolves get the perfect start, and you're hoping from there for a little bit of momentum, a little bit of intensity from Wolves, and it doesn't come.
No.
Brighton were the better side in that first half and the second half. But one thing I can give Wolves is that they had a lot of heart. They defended brilliantly, and they saw out a very unconvincing and tired performance, but one that gives them the result they needed and an absolutely monumental opportunity in front of them. You will not get a better chance to go to Wembley than what Wolves have got now in front of them, and that, considering the performance they put in, is remarkable.
At 6:45, I text you because I wasn't quite here yet, and saying, "My goodness, that is a risk to pick that side with 4 changes, but some massive changes. Dawson out, Neto out. It's Sarabia out. It's Sarabia out, and help me with the other one." Semedo, there you go. Okay.
Even I feel off a second.
But 4 changes. Look, Brighton made 9, but then we were a little bit nervous because we think Gary O'Neill's obviously been very positive. We go for the cup strong, and all of a sudden they've started creeping up the league. All of a sudden they're in and around the European positions, and he's made changes tonight. Well, you've got to expect all 4 of them to come back in at Newcastle. Again, we'll talk about this later on. Brighton made a lot of changes as well. At the same time, you think that if they didn't win this game tonight, then there would have been question marks asked, and that's the perfect start for them.
Yeah, I think it was a risk, absolutely. Not only the changes that were made, because you take very key players out. I think you made the point to me before kick-off as well, that you've taken your 2 in-form forwards out and left the one in Kwang, who's not in form the last couple of games. So,
and was not in form tonight,
and was not in form tonight in whatsoever, and obviously got injured as well, so hopefully we'll find out a bit more on that. But it was definitely a risk. Not only the personnel, as I say, but also the formation, having changed that from what Wolves were so used to. Now Lamina played a slightly adaptive role. He was slightly wider, slightly further forward at times, but he was also tucking in as well. So it was a bit of a hybrid, as we're used to with the Gary O'Neill Wolves side. But it was a big risk. It really was. Considering now, look, I know they don't have the draw before the team's made.
Sure, but when that draw does come after that, you think, the magnitude of it just.
I know it makes it even more of a risk because of the draw, even though Gary O'Neill couldn't foresee who Wolves would get. So.
Do you think if they knew it was commentary, they would have picked that side?
No.
Definitely not.
I think he'd have made 1 or 2 less changes.
I agree.
I still think he'd made a couple, but I think he'd have made 1 or 2 less.
I agree.
And look, obviously there were reasons that the players put in a big shift against Sheffield United. There's going to be getting into the red zone. The fitness and medical team will be on to Gary O'Neill saying, look, this player can't do X, Y, and Z because of a worry about getting an injury. So I understand the concerns with the fixtures and the schedule and trying to make something work. But I did feel that Wolves had a big opportunity tonight to play their strongest team. They didn't do that, and they've got away with it. They have got away with it because the performance wasn't there. The performance was gritty, it was determined, it was with a lot of heart, particularly in defence. And Max Kilman, I thought, was absolutely wonderful in that second half. But as a free-flowing, exciting, attacking display, it was anything but. And Wolves took that risk and got away with it because of that early goal.
Yeah, I think in some elements it was very similar to what we saw actually against Sheffield United on Saturday. At the same time,
side, by the way, regardless of injuries,
absolutely they were. They had some great players, and I actually think, and look, I might be wrong, but I think when Gary O'Neill comes in post-match press conference this time, he was quite critical of them on Saturday. I think he'll be glowing with the job that they've done tonight, even though it wasn't their best performance. But look, they've done it. Hwang Hee-chan, like you say, is going to be a concern. We've got to see it, and you're going to go back now to January, and if they have lost him, hopefully it's not for a long period of time. Hopefully he's back on Saturday, but you've got to think that he's a doubt going forward. Have this team, because they've come this far, got enough in the tank to do something, finish this season off in spectacular style, whether that's in the league or in the cup.
Well, that's what concerns me now, and it has done for a little while with the size of the squad. You start to pick up the odd injury or two, and Wolves' injury record overall this season has been very good. You've had Neto fairly long term with 2 months, Cunha obviously at the moment, Hwang potentially, we'll wait and see what happens. But sort of small niggles and little injuries here and there, Wolves have been fairly good and fairly consistent with keeping most of the players on the pitch. But they always ran that risk because they didn't bring a player in January for obvious reasons.
We've
gone over financially, and having ran that risk, there's always that concern of burnout. Players picking up injuries, players feeling the fatigue, feeling the intensity of what is a difficult, long slog of a season. So I think they've got enough based on the kind of togetherness and attitude of this squad. But I think they're going to have to patch a few up to get through the next few weeks and months, to be honest. And you've now got, as we say, a quarter-final here against Coventry, and that becomes a huge game. And I'd be surprised. I mean, we have to look at the fixtures that are around it, but I'd be very surprised if Gary Neal takes as many risks as he did tonight.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Even though it's against, in inverted commas, inferior opposition in the league below, I completely agree with you there. But look, I guess on the plus side is they've beaten Sheffield United, they've beaten Brighton, which are the most important things. And on another season, they just wouldn't have won those games. They've found a way to win. They've rested arguably 4 of their best players, are ready for Newcastle now on Saturday, which is great.
Yeah,
I know they came on towards the end, but obviously had more minutes than the rest of them. But that's some fresh legs, hopefully going into Saturday and another big game against a Newcastle side who are very dodgy at the back at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think in hindsight it looks like a massive stroke from Gary Neal, doesn't it? Because you win the game.
Can't do anything wrong. Can't do anything wrong.
You rested some players and you go again for Newcastle. I described this week before the Sheffield United game as a season-defining week for Wolves, but also a season-defining 7 weeks because of the games and the fixtures they've got running up until mid-April, where they've got a really good chance of getting into the Europa League and of course the FA Cup action, which of course they now made a quarter-final. This is a not particularly entertaining performance-wise start to the week or mid-part of the week, but it's 2 huge results that take Wolves that massive leap forward into where they want to be. Now Newcastle's a whole different kettle of fish. Like it's regardless of where they're at, they're a difficult place. It's a difficult place to go, a difficult side to play against. But Wolves have got themselves through in the cup. They're in and around the European places, and they've got fixtures to come. Regardless of Newcastle, regardless of that game, they've got fixtures to come that give Wolves a big chance to go far. And it's exciting. These next few weeks are going to be really, really, really big for this football.
Look, you've also replaced Bournemouth with Coventry City for a chance to get to Wembley. Bournemouth's going to get moved back, which means that Cunha's probably going to be back for that game as well. It's another winnable league game at home where hopefully you can have your main striker back or your main number 10 back. I tell you what, it's incredibly exciting, and we'll carry on, continue this conversation on in a little bit, a bit of Midnight Love at the old Wolves Poddy. It's Wolves 1, it's Brighton of Albion 0. Full post-match reaction. I want to try and catch you out now, when because it's so inevitable when I do it. Go!